Hey, it's Curly, and the unbelievable actually happened. And no, I don't mean Barrel getting actually good support. I'm talking about CoroCoro finally being released in the English format. This is a set that came out last year for the Japanese format in November. And while we were getting the reviews for this, I was half-heartedly at first super excited for this set because it has a lot of different reprints, a lot of really cool gimmicks and mechanics, but it was evident really quickly that we were never getting this in English. But it turns out that evidence was false. I guess I'm going to jail because we now have this set in our hands here in the English format. So today I'd like to go over how this set sort of works, how this new nation of CoroCoro works, go over the unique decks and gimmicks that you can play in this set, and give you sort of like some hands-on experience, show you how they actually work, and then finally give you some sample lists that you can play with, including stuff that you can use in the future for Festive Collection when we get that, as all of these decks actually get a little sprinkle of support. So let's jump into it. So first things first, what the hell even is CoroCoro? So I won't give you too much of an explanation here, but as I kind of said in my unboxing video, you can check out if you want to see the cards firsthand. CoroCoro is essentially just a magazine that's a collection of different comics or manga from Japan, but they're aimed at a younger audience. So think of your Shonen Jump, just for instead of teenage boys, it's for before they become teenage boys, right? And this is a collaboration between CoroCoro Comics and Cardfight Vanguard. We actually have a manga in CoroCoro called Skyride. You guys might know it as that manga that got you, it's upside down, that got you Philia, right? That's actually being printed in CoroCoro, which has of course given them a good relationship with Bushiroad, so on and so forth, and now we have this collab set here. And basically what they did, they took 5 of, I guess, their biggest properties that they, I guess, could afford, or that are currently airing or being printed, I guess is a more accurate term, and made decks for them in Vanguard. And this set is called a start deck pack because the whole idea is that as a young kid in Japan specifically, right, keep in mind that this is mainly marketed to them, you can buy this box, and with that, a single box, you can actually build your own deck, because they've included all the cards in common rarity, so you can very easily get them. They give you all the triggers you need in a deck to be able to build it, and they give you common versions of high rarity cards that you can use as your grade 3 Vanguard, so you can still play the deck and try it out. So that's generally how this works. And in order to accomplish this, they made a new nation called CoroCoro. So you can either play the deck using only CoroCoro cards that belong to that nation, but what most people do is, since the vast majority of these cards are actually dual nation, CoroCoro and another nation, you can build the decks within those respective nations. So you can build CoroCoro Dragon Empire, CoroCoro Darkseid, so on and so forth. And each of them have their own respective main grade 3 Vanguard, which are these guys, right? I have a quick synopsis here that you can take a look at how that manga works. If you want to get an idea of how it works, I would suggest you check out the original material, of course, but I won't really be going into that too much. Some of that will also be lost in translation and like the card art and stuff like that, so try and pay not too much mind to it. But if you have some tidbits of like why this guy is dead, for example, please let me know in the comments down below. I have not read the Dangerous Grandpa manga yet. And you can build it either CoroCoro or for the nation, excluding Lyrical, because Lyrical did not get their own boss unit this time around. I think it's because they don't have any specific series that's ongoing right now that involves a female character or female main lead or something like that. Supposedly. So first things first, let's go through this in order. And what I'll do is I'll give you what the deck does. I'll read it out for you because I know you guys hate reading. And then I'll show you how the deck actually works. So the first one we have here, we'll go over specifically the triple rare version. The strongest grandpa ever, Dangerous Grandpa. So Grandpa, his main gimmick and mechanic revolves around the keyword dangerous skill. which is one of the most fun mechanics in this entire set. So the way a dangerous skill works is that you have a bunch of grandpas, or not just specifically grandpas, but a bunch of cards that have this dangerous skill text, and that effect can only be activated by this grade 3 grandpa, because he says act on Vanguard circle once per turn. You can counterblast 1, reveal the top cards of your deck until you reveal a card with the dangerous skill ability that you do not already have in your bind zone. Once you have that card, you put that into your bind zone, activate its dangerous skill ability, or will become active once it's bound actually. Then you shuffle your deck, draw a card. So basically you only get access to each of these dangerous skills once per game, because once there's one in the bind zone, you gotta go again. So it's literally gambling, which is a lot of fun. The main grade 3 Vanguard here, your Persona Ride copy, actually allows you to stand your Vanguard at the end of the battle that it attacks. And the cost you pay for this is actually verbally saying the words "stand up Vanguard," which is also something really cool about this, that we have alternate cost in this game. So really quickly, we'll do a quick simulation of how this works. So I'm here on my grade 3 turn with my history's strongest grandpa, dangerous grandpa, and I'll use its skill here. I'll counterblast 1, and I will reveal from my deck the top card until I see a card with the dangerous ability. And I got one. It is here, Failure Grandpa. So I will bind that. I will put the cards that I revealed back to the deck. I will shuffle, and then I will draw 1 thanks to the effect. Unfortunately, I whiffed because Failure Grandpa here has the effect that says that when this is bound by the ability of your grandpa, your Vanguard grandpa, nothing happens. But that's generally how that works. So if, let's say we wanted to go again, right? We'll reveal top cards. This time I get Mr. Strongest, right? And I get to activate his effect, draw 1. But his effect says whenever he's bound by your grandpa's ability, he reduces your opponent's Vanguard by 5k. And then if they have 4 or less damage, they take 1 damage. So you have a lot of interesting different effects, which is pretty cool, but you can only use them once per game. You even have a game-winning effect where you can give a rearguard the ability where if its attack hits, you instantly win the game. So very, very cool. Let's take a look at a sample build. So I have a couple of different versions here, and I also have down in the description below 2 other resources that you can find for decks that I saw online. But I have a couple of different versions of this deck because, first of all, here is the, I guess, version you can build right now. As soon as this deck releases, this is the version that you can play around with. It basically has most of the cards from the set. The only real outside of set stuff you have is, of course, the Foul Heart, which you can just use to discard, draw 1. But you're also playing that to grab your copy of this Soyama, the Author card, which is very important for the deck because it allows you to get multi-attack, so you can restand one of your rear guards. Because you have the ability to restand, I'm playing it a little bit budget also, but you can use the mid hat, who says whenever something restands, you can retire him, draw a card. So you can sequence this correctly. We attack with a rear guard, attack with a rear guard boosted with the author goes to soul, restands, and then the other rear guard that was boosted by mid hat, you can retire and draw 1 for that. But then you also have some dangerous skills that let you restand, right? In terms of dangerous skill grandpas, I am playing 3 of the Persona Ride, 4 of Mr. Strongest because he's also a good beater. You can't ride this card as your Vanguard, but he's 18k base, and he gets an additional 5k whenever you use your grandpa's dangerous skill. So he's a 23k on its own, which is pretty decent. And of course, his dangerous skill is that you can ping 1 damage if your opponent's 4 or less, and also minus 5k. Failure Grandpa doesn't do anything for its dangerous skill, but on place, you can CV1, look at the top 5, add any CoroCoro card with the CoroCoro Nation, so basically any card, including PGs, to your hand. You can call it out, but if your Vanguard is a Grandpa, you can actually add it to your hand instead. Or I believe you have to put it into your hand instead of calling it, right? We're playing 1 copy of the Victory Grandpa, or V Grandpa, who he's the one that says basically if you have 5 or more damage, give one of your units 15k power, and then if their attack hits, you win the game. And the cost is saying the words major comeback. And then we have 1 of the Gabe, whose dangerous skill just says you give your front row 5k or 10k if your opponent's grade 3 or greater. We play 4 of the Beautiful Grandpa, who gives your, on dangerous skill, gives your Grandpa Vanguard 5k and a drive, so that one's pretty good to have, but it also is a 10k shield. That's kind of decent. And that's the general build for the deck. We're playing copies of this Gratis Grado, which is just for Persona Ride, just so you can hit solid numbers. The reason why I have a couple of different versions of this deck is because this is sort of the Japanese deck log, because we have this card here, which is the Blazing Warcry, which we don't have access to in English. So if that ever comes out, you can actually make use of that in this deck, because you can use cards like the Shinri. So this is the CoroCoro version of Shinri, and you can use that to deck thin your deck and actually be able to hit the grandpas that you need. So it's a slightly different version here that you can take a look at. Then we also have the CoroCoro version. So you can build this exclusively with the CoroCoro Nation if you'd like. In general, it's mostly the same. It's going to be the same for all the other ones as well. The main difference is that you can get access to this normal order. You could only play this if you're playing the CoroCoro Nation, but it's a normal order, grade 1 order that just says look at top 5, choose one CoroCoro from among them, put your hand, shuffle your deck. That's basically look at top 5, add anything, because you have to play everything that's CoroCoro to play it, that card, right? So it just lets you add anything to your hand, which is really nice. We're playing here the CoroCoro version of Tetrafault, because you do play the normal order and you can use the ability of Tetrafault to call stuff out, which is really nice. And other than that, everything's generally about the same as the other builds that I showed you. Then, second to last build that I have here for Grandpa here is going to be for a Festival Collection when that comes out. So we get this grade 1 that actually comes out that supports both Triumph Dragon and Grandpa. This says basically you can on play CB1 look at top 7 for grade 3 added to your hand. If not, countercharge. That's whatever. You can use that to get Persona Ride or your Mr. Strongest. But it also says that at the end of the battle that it boosts, I believe if your opponent has a grade 3 or greater, or if you have a grade 3 or greater Grandpa, I don't remember, I can't read Japanese, but essentially you can Soul Blast 1, restand one of your units and give it 5k. Soul Blast 1, retire this unit and give it 5k. This very easily lets you have 6 attacks in combination with the author here, right? So it allows you to restand both rear guards, which means you can also make use of Mid-Hat here. If you can sequence things correctly, it's a bit tricky to make sure that everything triggers and gives you the benefit, but also makes Valhart really important because it allows you to recur these grade 1s from your drop. Then we have another version that's basically the same, except you have access to Shinri and the Blazing Warcry, right? But we don't know where we're getting that in English. So that was Grandpa for Dragon Empire. Then we'll go over to Dark States, where we have Fate-Defying Rewinder Chrono. So Chrono's entire gimmick, he has quite a couple of them actually. So first he has the retry keyword, which we'll touch on in a bit, but you need specific units that have this retry keyword for a specific ability. Then the main gimmick that all of these cards have, aside from retry, is that they have the version up, which means you can activate an ability if you have 4 or more damage, Limit Break, or you Persona Road this turn. Chrono's version up is just that he can call a copy of himself essentially that can attack from the back row, which doesn't really tell you much about how this deck works. So let's jump into the simulator so I can show you what this deck does. Here I am at my first grade 3 turn with Chrono. He does have an additional effect that you can use, which allows you to look at the top 5 and search out for either a CoroCoro card or a retry eye, which is very important for this deck. And you call it out to rear. So we're going to go ahead and call this. Unfortunately, we don't see the retry eye, but that's fine because we have one in our hand here. So the retry eye is a set order. It's a grade 3 set order that you can play that says at the end of the battle that one of your units with the retry ability, so you see how all these guys have retry at the beginning of their text there. That means that you can, at the end of the battle that they attack, if you have a grade 3 or greater rewinder, you Soul Blast 1, rest this order, and then you can restand that unit and it gets 5k. Its crit and drive become 1 and they cannot be retried again. So essentially you can just choose any of your units that are rewinders for this deck, restand them, have them attack again. So if we were to go ahead, go to battle, and let's say we can go ahead and swing in here with this guy, since I did get the I did play the retry order this turn. Philia does get power. This guy does have his version up active, because of the fact that this gets 5k, because of the fact that I have 4 more damage, right? Let's say we're going second, I guess. He gets an additional 10k, so we can go ahead and swing in until the end of turn. Failure goes to soul, I draw 1. Then at the end of the battle that he attacks, I can soul blast 2, restand him thanks to this retry over here, and now he can go ahead and attack again. You can also do this with the Vanguard as well. So the Vanguard can go ahead and swing and do its drive checks. Then you can activate its ability here to put a card from your hand into soul, and then either from your deck or your drop, you can go ahead and call what is known as 3 minutes, or myself from 3 minutes in the past, because the deck is, or I shouldn't say the deck, the property, the series is all about time travelers. You can call that. This is a 25k attacker that can attack from the back row, and then it goes into soul. But if you attack with the Vanguard, you can also retry with him if you have another retry, right? So if it's your second grade 3 turn and you happen to have another one, you can activate multiple of these in a turn. You just can't use the same unit to retry with. So I can restand, check again. This can attack from the back row. This can attack. This bounces by its effect, and then this can attack, and this can actually get a crit, right? But that's essentially how retry works. It's a set order that allows you to restand your rewinder units to allow them to attack again, and they also get an additional 5k, including your Vanguard, but its drive becomes 1. Hopefully that makes sense. But we'll take a look here at the deck that I have here. This isn't a deck that I built myself. This is actually a deck that someone else built. I'll have the link to the original post in the description down below, so you can take a look at their tournament run. But this is generally the list that people have been playing, which basically just has a bunch of the cards from the set that you need. Of course, you need 4 of the retry eye. You only really need 2 of this Chrono, because you can call it from drop. So you just want to get one of these in play as long as it doesn't go into damage. You play a bunch of your rewinder friends, specifically here the Shirai, who can get a crit when he attacks, and it can be called from drop. This guy is also just a nice beater. Lemon can actually turn off your opponent's auto abilities, so she's a nice card to have. And then we have 2 copies of Tizark, just so you have something to discard and get some draw and some defense in. And of course the Philia, who allows you to draw in the early game and go to soul, because you need soul, or your retry eyes to activate, so you can retry your units. But also whenever you play your retries every single turn, you can go ahead and have her active. Then we have the CoroCoro version of this deck, which I feel like isn't as strong, but it might be, because really all you have advantage of using now is of course the CoroCoro order, which is the same for all of these decks. The only difference is that this deck already has an order, so you can use this order in the early game to get any of your other cards. This card doesn't specify a unit or anything like that, so you can actually use this to nab your retry eyes if you see them. So it's just literally look top 5, get anything, and it would activate your Philias if Philia was available in this nation, but she's not, which is a bit unfortunate. But of course after turn 3 you're going to want to play all your retry eyes every single turn, so you won't be able to play this order because you're going to play 1 order per turn, and you currently don't have a way to cheat that out. But other than that, the list remains relatively the same. We're just playing a copy of this who just says on version up you can soul blast restand him. Final list we have here is for Festival Collection, and this one's a bit underwhelming also, to be honest. I think the best list is the very first one that I showed you, because the card from Festival Collection is not very good. In my opinion, it just says, for at least Rewinder, whenever you ride a Rewinder, and this is in drop, you can actually call this out and soul charge 1. Then at the end of the battle that it attacks, you can put it to soul to look at the top, I think it's 5 for a grade 3 card and add it to your hand. So that's okay. But we already have the smartphone that looks at top 7 anyways and can also call itself from drop. So this card is kind of irrelevant. I kind of forced it in here just to show off a deck with the card, but I don't really think it's very good. I would just, the only thing I would add is really the Ace unit for Festival Collection, and that's about it. So that does it for Chrono, which for a lot of people is the more popular deck and the deck that people feel is the best in the set. The other one that's extremely popular as well, it's also really good, is Black. So for black, we actually have two different versions. Technically, we have a grade 3 version and a grade 4 version as well. And black already has a skip rider, which is pretty cool. So we'll just go over the grade 4 version because they're kind of the same thing. But basically, black's gimmick is the keyword deal. So what you do is act on Vanguard circle once per turn. You can, if in your rearguard circle or on your order zone, you have a card that is called Camera Champ, you can activate its ability to counterblast one, and then all of your rear guards become in the deal state, and they get an additional 5k power. The grade 3 version can only select, it's the same thing except they can only select 3 units. Then what happens is that he basically has a Bastion effect. So this is a grade 4 that has triple drive, and then at the end of the battle that it attacks, you can put a grade 3 or greater card with black in its card name either from your hand or soul into drop to stand all of your rear guards with the deal state. Give them another 5k power, but at the end of your turn you retire all of them, which is kind of like the nature of you making a deal with these units. You'll give them power, but then they'll die. Right? So relatively simple concept to understand, considering that it's very similar to Bastion, right? So let's take a look at how this works in action. All right, so we've got our first grade 3 turn for black. The grade 1 of the ride line actually allows you to search out Camera Chan here. Use a essentially a version of Iron Guardian that from the order zone you can call him out. So you can go ahead and Soul Blast 1. You can actually use this in any Brancade deck if you need an extra Iron Guardian or an extra set order. But then if you have black, he has an additional 5k. On grade 2, you can call out this guy who's Satoshi, who can actually skip ride. So the grade 2 actually gives you your skip rider, which is kind of nuts. So we can go ahead and call a board here, and what you can do is before you skip ride, you can use the ability of your grade 3 black to select 3 different units and give them or put them in a deal state, right? So I can go ahead and select all my back row here, give them 5k, and they are now in the deal state. Then at the end of the battle they attacks, you can see we won, restand 1. But instead, we went second in this situation, so I will go ahead and I think I should have an extra 3 energy actually. But I will go ahead and search my deck for a grade 4 black and write it. You can just straight up CV1, just superior ride, which is insane. Then you can go ahead and activate his ability to deal, and he selects all your units, they get 5k. And you have a bunch of units that get around the fact that you have to retire at the end of the battle. So this panda here can actually call itself from drop. You can also have the camera go back to the order zone before it retires. Satoshi can't be retired. And then this version of black, no black, also cannot be retired, right? So you have ways to get around the retire cost. And then you can just go ahead and swing in. So this girl, she gets an additional 5k every time she attacks. And then this, you can actually call it from drop as a combined rusher. But whenever you attack, you have a grade 3 or greater black, you get an additional 5k or 10k I should say, and then the camera should have an additional 5k from its own skill. And you can swing in here, do your triple drive 1, 2, and 3. Then at the end of your turn you can activate black's effect. I can discard this girl here because she's actually a grade 3 with black in her name, but I can also use the grade 3 from the ride line to soul blast that out in order to restand all of my units here, give them yet another 5k. And go ahead and attack with him again. Then this girl also says that when she stands, she gets another 5k. And then again, she gets 5k when she attacks, and so then she gets another 5k. So if you can swing in for big numbers, we can go ahead and swing in here, give this another 10ks for its effect, and swing in for big numbers. And then your end phase comes, and you want to resolve by putting your camera back to the order zone before it dies. You can resolve this to draw. This guy says if you only have 1 copy, he doesn't die. This can die. And then Satoshi can't be retired. So that's generally how the deck works. Pretty simple. Here's the list that I have for black. It's pretty straightforward. You play black in the entire ride line. I personally play 4 of the grade 4 black, as well as the grade 3 black, the girl version. And then play a couple of generics. Play 3 copies of the grade 3 dragon, 3 copies of the energy cycler, and then 3 copies of the energy grade 1, so 3 cyclers, each one of each grade, 3 copies of each. This is just good for getting your blacks back to hand whenever you discard them, either for ride or when you use it for the effect. This is of course good just for when you ride, and this also, since you're on grade 4, you don't have an extra shield, but also you can use it to get soul, and as well be a 10k attacker, which is pretty nice. 2 copies of the Panda, because you can call it off from drop as long as you don't have another copy. This guy, he can't be retired if you don't have another copy, but he also gets 5k and gets boost. Then here's the CoroCoro version, which is kind of interesting because you actually can make use of the CoroCoro order for black, because he doesn't actually focus on set orders aside from the camera chant that you actually get set from your orders, from your deck to your order zone, so you can actually play both these on the same turn, right? Deck is generally the same, or again making use of the Tetrafault, because of the fact that we have access to the order. We're specifically picking the Tetrafault as opposed to the other clones, because Tetrafault just gets 10k for free. The other ones have different, restrictions on their second effect. And we actually threw in a copy of the Rewinder Shudai, because he says basically if you have a Rewinder or CoroCoro as your Vanguard, you get all the following. You can't use the retry or the call from drop because you won't have a retry eye. But if you have 4 or more damage, this can get 10k and also get a crit to end the battle. So if you have a bunch of energy, you can actually restand him and attack with him again twice with crit. So he's like a nice little Zamoot that you can throw in, but you can take that out for something else if you'd like. Then the last list I have for black here is for Festival Collection. The deck doesn't change too much. We can throw in the Ace units, which works pretty well in the deck. And then there's this new card here. There's grade 1 that says on place. You can put a grade 3 from your drop into soul, so it allows you to recycle. I think it's grade 3 or greater. So it allows you to recycle your blacks, put them back into soul, especially the grade 3, right? It also says that if your Vanguard is grade 4 or greater, you can either put this to soul, I think, in counter charge, or retire it in counter charge. But if your Vanguard is grade 3 instead, you can choose one of your units in your front row that it boosted and bounce it back to your hand. So you can bounce back like one of your on-place effects, for example, or not have those units get retired, right, at the end of your turn. So that one's actually a pretty good one for the deck. Some people don't play it. I can see you not playing it. I think it's fine. But basically, I replaced it with a copy of Bowl of Mine I was playing, which I basically just have to get a little bit of soul and some counter charges so you have a little bit more freedom. Then we have the Keter Sanctuary deck, which is actually from I forgot the name of the manga, but it's Dekka-kun, which his entire gimmick is that he's a giant elementary school kid or something like that. So giant that he actually has this mechanic called Oversized, where you actually have to connect his lower body and his upper body on the field, because he's just so tall he doesn't fit on a single card, which I think is amazing flavor for a card design. But our grade 3 Vanguard is the biggest MC ever, Dekka-kun, upper body. So all of your upper body cards have the effect that you can Energy Blast 2, and from your deck or drop, I think some of them are from deck, but we'll take a look at that in a moment. And you can call basically a card with the same name that's the lower body and call into the back row center of the same column, or back row of the same column, so that'd be the center, right? So all of them, all your deck does allow you to call out their lower body weight, which makes sense, and then they become in the oversized state, which means if either of them is retired, they're both retired, and if you guard with either of them, you move both cards to the guardian circle, except the Vanguard, because you can't actually do that. Dekka himself gets 5k and an extra drive when he's in the oversized state, which is pretty easy to achieve. The 5k is also active on your opponent's turn, which is really nice. And also, if it attacks any persona already gets a crit. So, pretty basic in terms of the Vanguard effect. So, here we are with Dekka. This is my first grade 3 turn. We'll go to main phase. We can go ahead and use his effect to search out his legs. They did, I think, kind of funny that his art is like him in space, so you can kind of understand why he doesn't have his legs present on the battlefield, because maybe they're like on Earth and you just can't see it because he's that tall. But it allows us to call out his legs, and his legs have the ability that if you didn't ride, you can CB1 search Persona Ride from your deck and then ride it, right, and activate Persona Ride, which is pretty cool. But now that I'm in the oversized state, I get an additional 5k power here to my Vanguard, and then I can call the Robo Dekka here, who has the same ability. All of the rearguard Dekkas have the same ability that you can either from deck or from drop. I don't think I have any left in deck, so we can call from drop here our legs, and you can see in the art that they kind of do line up, right? And then I can go to battle. This deck doesn't really do anything crazy other than just have the ability to have good board presence with your Dekkas, and each of them have an effect. This one allows you to, you can swing in and boost. Each of them, the upper body and lower body, have an effect. This one, the Robo one, is your key one because it says when your Vanguard attacks, you can CB1 restand, which allows you to get additional attacks. And it does stand all rear guards in the same column. But I have an extra drive, so I can check, and always checks are always blank, unfortunately, and then you can go ahead and swing in, right? And that's generally how the deck works. You just fill up your board with body parts and then go swinging. Here's the deck for Dekka. It is rather simple, basically using all the versions of Dekka that you can play except for common version that basically just gets extra shield. Decided not to play that version, but we're playing 4 copies of the Robo Dekka, who just says it can restand the column when your Vanguard attacks, and then 3 copies of the Tent Dekka that just says when it's full body you can, or oversized I should say, on attack CB1 draw, and if your opponent's grade 3 or greater, it gets 5k. It's the Tent Legs, allows you to energy charge 1, which is nice because all of your upper bodies EB2 to call out the legs, and then the legs for the robot get 10k if your opponent's on grade 3. It's until end of battle, so it doesn't like stack on restand. And that's about it. I'm playing copies of Saragon here. This is the CoroCoro version, just because of the fact that you can remove it from the board and get some decked in and stuff. But you don't really need to play that. You can play something else. And then 4 of this order, I've seen a lot of people play this. I'm not a huge fan of Dekka per se, so my list is not super crazy. I didn't test this one too much, but since you get a full board pretty easily, the reason I don't like this order is because it has energy blast 2, and you choose 2 units, and then if they get boosted, they get 10k, and if you have 5 units, you draw 1, so you can activate this pretty easily. Then we have here the CoroCoro version that has basically just all Dekkas. And we're also playing in both versions. We're playing the Tetrafall here, which the other version you can cut it in also and play something else, because you have to play the order, choose 2 units, then you can call it Tetrafall. So it doesn't really line up as good. I just couldn't really find anything else in terms of generics that I wanted to. So you can play the Dual Nation card if you want instead. But here we're playing the CoroCoro order, which is a normal order that you can play, so it allows you to more easily use the Tetrafall. But the general game plan is the same, not much changes, because deck of Dekka. Finally, the version in the future doesn't change too much. This one uses the Ace unit, which you can maybe cut because again of the energy cost, because we're still playing the order, even though you do have an energy charger. But we have the grade 1 that comes out that works with Dekka as well as Sarassel. That just says if you have Dekka, this gets 5k attack and shield, but a grade 3 one specifically. But if you overcall this unit in main phase or in battle phase, you can look at the top 3, choose 1, put it to your hand, put the rest I think on the bottom of your deck. So what you can do is you can play this out in the early game, aggress your opponent, move it back, play one of your upper bodies, call from deck with the lower body over this, and then activates effect in main phase. If you overcall it, it allows you to then not play Soul Blast 1, so you can then get advantage that way, which is kind of nice. It allows you to play something, and then you can hold on to your pieces when you need to, right? So pretty nice inclusion. I feel like this is one of the better ones that works with the CoroCoro decks. Then finally, the last one we have here is for Stoikea, who is unprecedented newborn Bebebebe, 0-year-old, where the entire manga is about this baby that transforms into this giant brolic person, even though they're still a baby. So this one actually has a keyword explosive growth, which is literally just overdress. The only difference is that after your unit in the explosive growth state or overdress attacks, you take the top card that you overdress with and you bounce it back to your hand. So the Vanguard gives 10k to your front row if you have a you know, a unit in the explosive growth state, so very similar to the original Nirvana. Then it says when it attacks you CB1, choose one of your rear guard, stand it. If you stood a grade 0 normal unit with Bebebebe, choose an explosive growth from your hand and explosive growth it as stand. So you can overdress mid-battle with it. Since they bounce the hand, you can attack with it. It leaves you a grade 0 normal unit. So then you restand that with the Vanguard, and then you go ahead and overdress from your hand again. So generally, you know, pretty simple considering we already have a mechanic like that in the game. Okay, here we are. I'm at grade 3 turn with Bebebebe. And what I can do here is I can go ahead, this activates, so this is my grade 0 Bebebebe. Since I have a Blitz Order and a CoroCoro or Bebebebe Vanguard, he gets an additional 4k, basically his original power from 10k. And then I can go ahead and overdress or explosive growth with my Lively Baby here in my hand, and whenever this happens I can EB3 draw 1. And he gets 5k, which is really nice because it gives you a lot of energy. It gives you a lot of draw power if you constantly keep overdressing. You can draw, which is kind of cool. I have this other Bebebe, so you have 2 normal unit Bebebes. This one gets an additional 5k shield and can intercept. You know, it's a grade 0, so I can't intercept. And I can go ahead and actually overdress that one as well. But since I have at least one unit with explosive growth in my I don't think it has to be in the front row, but I have at least one that's an explosive growth. My front row gets 10k power. And then I also have this guy here, who's Omoro Taru here, who can use its skill on play CB1. My opponent has to discard 1. Then I can go to battle, and we can go ahead and swing in here. It only gets 5k if you attack a grade 3 or greater. Or no, I know it gets 5. Oh no, it actually does get it. Okay, so it gets 5k now, so we'll swing in here. So a nice 38k to your opponent. Then this skill happens, you bounce the overdress that's on top back to your hand, and then you can activate this guy's skill to put him into soul and give you 3 energy, which is really nice because now I can swing in here, activate this effect, CB1, stand my baby, and then my baby, since it's a baby, I can explosive growth with it. Then since I have the energy now, I can EV3 draw again, and he gets an additional 5k, and he gets an additional 10k from the Vanguard continuous to the front row. We're gonna go first check, second check, get a Q trigger, pretty nice. Heal that out. And I can go ahead and swing in here. This guy gets an additional 10k when you attack a grade 3 or greater, and you can CB1 to get a crit. But then in the battle, of course, it bounces to your hand, and I can swing in here. He gets 5k on attack. And then of course in the battle he bounces to hand, and I'm left with these 2 babies to pass on my opponent's turn. So really quickly we'll go over the Bebebebe list. It's pretty simple. This is just the arcade version. Here I don't really have a lot that I can play around with. It's basically just 4 copies of everything. You need a Blitz Order for whatever reason. They incorporated the Blitz Order mechanic from the promo version, but he has his own Blitz Order that says Soul Blast 1 on attack. When you're being attacked, give the unit being attacked 5k, and you can choose 2 normal units with Bebebebe from your drop and guard with them. But if you have a Bebebebe, you can choose trigger units instead, except they have to have Bebebebe in the name, and they have to be different names from each other. So this could be Soul Blast 1 for 15k or Soul Blast 1 for 35k, which is pretty decent. But if you have a Blitz Order in drop, your Bebebes get their ability active, so this one becomes 10k base, and then this one gets intercept and 5k shield, which is kind of nice. The ride line also allows you to look at top 7 for Blitz Order, so we're playing max copies of that to discard it and, you know, have more consistency with the ride line. But we have the grade 2 Bebebebe, who just says on, you know, explosive growth, EB3, draw 1, 5k. On attack, it's another 5k. And then the grade 3 version, on attack, opponent's grade 3 or greater, 10k. And then you can CB1, get a crit. And that's kind of it. We have Takashi here, who just lets you rest himself, call one of your grade 0s from drop. And then we have the family that allows you to Soul Blast to get an explosive growth from your deck, from your drop back to your hand. So if for whatever reason you had to discard it, you can get it back to your hand. But basically you only leave the grade 0s on your opponent's turn, so you just need Takashi to get them back. You can change the ratio of these if you'd like. And then the Taro here, who just allows you to get energy or countercharge, as well as soul, which is really nice. It gives you a bunch of resources. Then we have the CoroCoro version, which actually is the version you probably want to play. The other ones, typically the Nation version is better, but for Bebebebe, it's actually pretty good because you get access to the CoroCoro comic which you can use, which allows you to more specifically make sure you have your Bebebebes, right? So it allows you to search out your deck pretty easily. You can play an extra copy of it if you want, but it's basically the same exact list, except I got rid of the family because the order lets you search it out. Finally, here is the Festival Collection version, which is generally about the same. Again, I've included the Ace unit because you can try and play it in, but generally you want as much energy for this as you can, so use that at your your own discretion. And then there is the grade 1 that is released for this deck that I feel like literally does not work. So I didn't even try to force it in, to be honest. So list basically remains the same, except you can try and force in the Ace unit. That's about it. But that will do it for this quick overview of the CoroCoro decks, what they do, and some sample lists. As I said early on, you can check in the comments below. I have some other players that have made either articles or Twitter posts about the deck, the decks, and have some sample lists that you can take a look at as well. But till next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Play Vanguard and have yourselves a damn good one.